Thank you. At this point, we'll go to item 44, which is approval of our CPI index adjustment for our waste management contract. And we're going to open the public hearing and start with disclosures.
I've only had staff.
44.
Staff only.
Staff only.
No contact.
Staff only.
All materials have been provided to the council.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. Carrie Dale, Water Utilities Director, here before you to speak on item 44, which is a waste management consumer price index cost adjustment. This action is being proposed to request an annual increase in the city's solid waste service contract with Waste Management of California, adopt a resolution establishing those rates and directing staff to implement those rates. The current contract, which was established in 2010, expires in 2023. And the contract established initial rates for user services for both the residential and commercial collection of solid waste. A portion of that rate is paid to Waste Management, a portion of that rate is paid to the city to implement billing as well as other programs. The current contract allows for an annual adjustment each July 1st. The adjustment must be requested by the provider, and staff received a letter request on April 2nd of this year. The adjustment is based on the higher of either the 100% of the difference between this year's and the previous year's national city's CPI, or 75% of this year's versus the previous year's San Diego area CPI. The higher of the two was the San Diego CPI at 2.257%. The fiscal impact of implementing the CPI is an additional $414,000 in revenues and an equal amount in additional expenses that will go to Waste Management. Staff's recommendation is to approve the franchise provider's request for CPI adjustment, adopt a resolution establishing those rates, and direct staff to implement user rates. Both Colleen Foster, management analyst, senior management analyst, and myself will be available on sidebar if you have any questions.
This is a public hearing item. Any members of the public who wish to speak on this specific item may come forward at this time.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane, also the homeowner's representative at La Salina Mobile Village. I was asked by a few members of my community to bring up the issue of unfair equity and taking and saddling some of our low-income people with a constant rate increase. We are taking, with a lot of our seniors, are having very limited increases in Social Security. And what happens is sort of like you have the increase, but everyone has their other increases on them, and it adds to an amount that exceeds that Social Security increase. So what happens is that you have a never spiraling decrease, even though it appears you have an increase, because you add all those other increases. Something needs to be done. If it's not here, then where? Because it's all those utility costs together. When you went over the budget this past month here, you also saw an area in solid waste where there was a deficit. I don't know if this addressed that, but no one questioned it when I brought it up. It was just glossed over and went on. I would like to have an answer on that, how we had a deficit. What's going to go with that deficit? How's that going to be addressed? Those are a couple issues that need to be addressed that are serious issues. How to help our low-income seniors with some form of stability or assistance. And the second part is that deficit that was shown to everybody, and no questions were raised on that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sally Bickerton. I live on South Clementine Street, one of those streets that has an alley. And I just have a suggestion for waste management, that why do we have to have trucks go up and down our alley 6 times to pick up 3 types of trash on one side and 3 types of trash on the other? If they could ask everyone to put their trash cans on one side, they could cut the number of trips down our alley by half, saving wear and tear on our alleys, which would save the city money, and certainly perhaps they wouldn't need to hire so many helpers and buy so many trucks if they only had half as many trips. So instead of a raise in cost, perhaps it could stay the same or even go down. Thank you.
Close the public input portion of this. Councilmember Sanchez?
Thank you. Could staff answer any of the questions that were, or issues that were raised, please, before my comments?
Honorable Mayor and council members, Councilmember Sanchez, yeah, I can address the deficit that Mr. Knott spoke about. We did investigate that after the budget was brought forward to council, and we found that there were a few errors in the budget. It is a balanced budget with revenues that exceed the expenses, so that correction is being made in the finance department. Staff has also been tasked with investigating low-income options on utility rates as they relate to water and sewer. We could certainly add solid waste in there, but that is a long-term project that staff is currently working on.
Right. And could you relay the information to Waste Management regarding possibly trying to get it done on one side of the street? I don't know if that means that having 2 is a function of, how much trash is, capacity versus, wasted trips.
The issue with one side of the alley is simply whose side of the alley gets all the trash carts. So you've got private property owners on each side of the alley. And if we were to direct Waste Management to put trash carts on only one side of the alley, that's not very equitable or fair to those property owners that will then have the burden of everyone else's trash next to their property. So it's really a property-related issue.
It would confuse who the cans belong to and who to properly charge.
It would confuse who cans belong to, but it essentially would be if I had a home on one side of the alley and that side was chosen to be the location for all the carts, other residents from across the alley could then put all their waste in front of my garage or my driveway, etc. It's the same thing on a private street or a regular street. Think of a regular street. If we chose only the south side of streets got trash carts, then people would be crossing the street with carts and putting in front of other people's houses. So it would become a nuisance to property owners, and we would not be able to fairly identify who is going to be burdened with the carts. However, I would like to add that Waste Management continually increases efficiencies with their routing systems to minimize cost.
Yeah, I think that Waste Management has been very efficient for us. And for example, we do have the CPI part of the contract, and yet we're looking at 38 cents a month, which is $4.56 for the year as an increase, which is not, it is something which, if you are on limited income, of course, that is $4.56, but it isn't bigger than that. So I think we are trying to maintain that, and as staff goes forward, please look at what we could possibly do regarding lower income folks. This is a public utility, a public service. We are not about creating profits for the city. It's, basically charging what the actual costs are. So it's difficult, I think, to try to come up with a plan because someone has to pay. And either it's going to be another, set of residents that pay it, or I don't know. I don't know how it would be paid. But anyway, thank you very much for that presentation. I'm going to go ahead and move adoption, right, of the resolution. Thank you.
Councilmember Kern.
I'll second it. And Daniel, did you get all that? Do you want any comment? We're good. Okay. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Deputy Mayor Lowry.
Sure, I have a basic couple of not technical questions. This is, these increases are a part of the contract that was agreed to by the city several years ago. That's correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And when does this contract end?
The contract ends in 2023, December 31st.
Okay, so we'll be looking at all these things all over again at that time.
Yes, we will.
Okay, and as far as the questions from the community members about reversing the location on the alley, I think the explanation was very good, but you can always send us an email and ask us if we can check that out, and maybe the people from Waste Management have better ideas than what we have. So I suggest that community members who have questions let us know what those are. Thank you.
Councilmember Feller.
Thanks. We could always give back the 1.7 million that they pay us every year for a franchise fee,
To Waste Management.
or we could go to a material recovery facility and just collect everything in one truck. Thank you.
Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Zach, I'm going to jump to 46, which is adoption of a resolution for a Transnet local street improvement project to include in the RTIP. Gary?
Want to open the public hearing?
I'm going to open a public hearing and start with disclosures.
Just staff.
Nothing.
Staff.
No contact.
Staff only.
All material has been provided to the council.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and Gary Kellison with the Engineering Division. This item is approval of a resolution asking Sandag to approve Oceanside's list of projects for inclusion in the 2018 RTIP. The RTIP is the Regional Transportation Improvement Program, and it is part of the region's transportation plan. Approval of the RTIP allows Oceanside to draw up to $19.6 million in Transnet funds over the next 2 years. The Melrose extension is not included in the RTIP at the moment, so it's not a part. However, the RTIP does fund 3 large current projects: Lot 23 parking structure, the Railroad Quiet Zone project, and the street overlay program, all of which are under construction at the moment. I will move over here to answer any questions that may happen.
So far, we have one speaker on this item, Joan Bachman.
Hello, Joan Bachman. I reviewed the list of projects and very supportive of work in the city. However, I do want to point out a few things. Moore Street just had the south side of the street redone right at Coast Highway. They concreted in the entire thing. And to me, that's a loss of open space. There are no street trees on that side. There is no landscaping over there, and that is the problem with our parkway standards, and that needs to change. So I don't want to see more of that. I've always been against the detention basins. I wish we had done that differently. I fully support the Coast Highway study, and I really wish that we did the whole thing, not just the transportation aspect of it, and I think the city has missed a chance to get the full vision with the commercial nodes and the shorter landscaped residential avenues that will really be the success to Coast Highway. And lastly, I just want to comment, Seagaze is unlandscaped. All that change went in there and we got rocks. It's really ugly and it really needs to change. They did it because they couldn't figure out how to water them. Chuck and I know how to grow deer grass, and it's not that hard. And we planted 500 feet of El Camino right at Mesa up against a west-facing wall, and that's always been water trucked. That has no irrigation system. So please landscape Seagaze. It's very unacceptable right now. Thank you.
This is a public hearing item. Any other members of the public who wish to speak on this specific item may come forward at this time.
We'll close the public hearing, and Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. This is a resolution to adopt Transnet Local Street Improvement Program or projects for this year through 2023. Perhaps staff can look at some of the recommendations that Ms. Bachman has suggested and move adoption.
Second.
Councilmember Kern,
No, that's fine. We're good.
please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Let's go to item 45.
Yes, and did you want to do item number, we haven't done 43 yet. I didn't know if you wanted to do that.
No, that was continued.
Oh, that was continued. Okay, perfect. So item number 45 is adoption of a resolution adopting the final mitigated negative declaration and associated mitigation monitoring and reporting program for the Grandview Point project, and adoption of a resolution granting the appeal of the Planning Commission's denial of the project, and adoption of a resolution granting, of the denial of and approving tentative map T15-00006, development plan D15-00014, and density bonus DB17-0001 to allow 30-lot subdivision and development of 26 single-family homes and 2 accessory dwelling units at a 7.04-acre parcel located at 1902 Grandview Street between Crouch Street and Hunsacker Street. Grandview Point applicant, Grandview Community Homes, LLC, appellant, Grandview Community Homes, LLC. You can open the public hearing now.
Open the public hearing and start with disclosures.
I've spoken and met with the appellant. Or no, isn't this an appeal? Yes. As well as staff. I've had numerous emails and a few phone calls.
Staff and public, and I went by the site about 350 times.
Staff, the public, and I did meet with the appellant.
Staff, public, lots of emails, public through phone calls and also personal conversations. As part of the disclosure, all of that was in opposition to this project.
Okay, just about everybody, the applicant, the staff, the public, emails, phone calls, you name it, they contacted us.
All material has been provided to the council.
Good evening, Mayor Weiss, members of the City Council. The item before you is an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision to deny a tentative map development plan density bonus. Tonight, staff's asking that the City Council consider adoption of a mitigated negative declaration prepared for the project, consideration of a tentative map to allow a 30-lot subdivision to facilitate the development of 28 total units with 26 detached homes, with 2 of those units being accessory dwelling units, a development plan for a residential project which involves more than 3 housing units and projects that are subject to the hillside development provisions, and a density bonus application to allow the project to exceed the maximum potential density of the EBR, general plan land use designation. Brief background, the project was considered by the Planning Commission in October 2017. It was denied 7-0. Issues the Planning Commission cited for denying the project included incompatibility with surrounding residential uses, aesthetic impacts, traffic concerns, and inconsistency with the general plan. On November 6th, they adopted the resolution formally denying the project, and later in that month, the applicant or the appellant filed the applicant filed an appeal of the project, of the Plan Commission's decision. So just some overview of the existing conditions surrounding the site. The project site's located, it's a 7.04 acre site, irregularly shaped, located on the north side of Granby Street. To the north, surrounded by commercial and industrial uses. To the south, there are single-family residential uses in the REB zoning district, in addition to the campus of the Lincoln Middle School. To the east, there are single-family residences in both the REB zoning district and residences with a planned residential development designation. And to the west, there are single-family residences with the REB zoning designation. This graphic depicts the existing site conditions. You'll note that there are 3 structures existing on the site, which include 2 single-family residences and a detached garage. The site's kind of defined by its topography, which surrounds a fairly level mesa of approximately 3 acres where the site development is concentrated. Here's some existing photos of the existing residence at 1910 Granby Street, which is part of the project site, and the driveway leading down into 1902 Granby Street, which is this existing residence and detached garage. To give a contextual site plan, this graphic depicts the concentrated development on approximately 3 level acres with sloping topography surrounding it. And this site plan depicts the proposed residential lot layout. Average lot size is about 3,800 square feet. Since there's residences proposed on a private street, 26 overall lots, residential lots with 28 units. So since the Planning Commission reviewed the project, there have been some revisions made to lessen potential impacts on existing residences. Those changes include increasing the rear yard setbacks for all the properties located along the southerly perimeter adjacent to the homes, which are accessed off of Cole Way, decreasing the height of those residences from 3 stories to 2, introducing a new footprint on the northerly side of the private street to increase the front yard setbacks and provide more usable yard areas. So these next several slides are going to go over, generally address the reasons why the Planning Commission, the reasons the Planning Commission cited for denying the project. The first starts with the general plan policies. The Planning Commission cited that the project is inconsistent with a number of general plan policies, and staff acknowledges that it is inconsistent with a number of general plan policies. Being a density bonus project, the state law and local ordinance does not require a project which applies for density bonus to request a general plan amendment. The project's been found to be consistent with all applicable provisions of both state density bonus law and the city's density bonus provisions. An incompatibility with existing development is not a reason for which to deny the project. The applicant has redesigned the project to be more compatible with adjacent uses, even though they weren't required to by law. The Planning Commission noted that the CEQA document was insufficient in the areas of its review of aesthetic impacts and impacts to biological resources. The M&D that was prepared for the project site and which was circulated for public review found that there was no impacts with respect to aesthetics. There is a impact to approximately ½ acre of Diegan coastal sage, which is necessitated to do some remedial grading down at the northeast corner of the project site. With implementation of the MMRP prepared for the project, there will be no significant impacts to the environment. Another reason that the Planning Commission cited was unsafe traffic conditions and Grandview Street being incapable of accommodating project-related traffic. A project traffic study was prepared for the project, which was included as part of the mitigated negative declaration, and which is accepted by the transportation engineering section. Since that time, the applicant has prepared an updated traffic study to make sure that the conclusions of the original traffic study were accurate, and it did confirm that the previous traffic study was indeed accurate and that there will be no impact to the level of service at any of the project intersections. Since the time, there's been no factual data provided to staff which would contradict the findings of the traffic analysis. In addition, we wanted to understand if there's any accidents, what the accident history is. Staff requested accident history report from the police department. They provided an accident history report for 5 years, starting January 13 through December 2017. And as you can see on the graphic, there are no traffic accidents reported to the police department in that time frame. So there does not appear to be any unsafe traffic conditions associated with this segment of Grand Street. One other findings that the Planning Commission made was that the project was incompatible with existing residences. To address those concerns, again, we'll reiterate that the applicant revised the project plans to reduce any potential impacts. They reduced all the residences along the southerly perimeter to 2 stories and increased the rear yard setbacks at an average of almost 15 feet. Both state density bonus law and the city's density bonus provisions require that the waivers be requested. Inherently, a density bonus project of this nature will be incompatible with its surroundings, in that the density increase above and beyond what the general plan designation would generally allow goes away with the density bonus provisions. Staff has concluded that on the basis of the entire record, there is not substantial evidence that there is a specific I'm sorry, let me back up. So one of the reasons that staff can, or a city can, or municipality can deny a waiver request if there's a identified adverse impact which has a specific definition, and there has been no adverse impacts identified. This table represents the waivers that are being requested as part of the density bonus application. There are 12 in nature. They all have to do with the physical limitations that these development standards would represent, and not allowing the project to develop at the density that it's being proposed. So these include lot areas, lot widths, setbacks, lot coverage, and the physical limitations that these development standards represent. There was some question on how staff came up with the density for the proposed project. So it's kind of unique in that the site does have some topographical constraints. But the definition of density is based on the gross developable acre. And so this graphic represents the slope analysis prepared for the project. The area in red represents slope or areas of the project site which are considered undevelopable by General Plan Policy 1.25, and that would mean lands that have 40% grade, 40% slope, and a 25-foot grade differential. That's just over an acre, so we subtracted that, and so the gross developable acreage for the project site is 5.99 acres. This next slide depicts the 3 density calculations that were required of the project. First, there's a base density, which is based on the maximum potential density of the zoning district which the project site is located, and you round up any fractions. So in this case, the maximum potential density of the site is 21 units. And then you do the affordable homes calculation. In this case, the applicant has chosen to reserve 9% of the pre-density bonus units for the very low income category, which results in the reservation requirement of 2 dwelling units for the very low income category. And finally, their density bonus is based on the 30% increase above what the maximum potential density is, which rounded up equals 7 units. So they're getting 7 bonus units in return for reserving 2 units for the very low density, very low income category. As a comparison, staff analyzed the surrounding area and to get an idea of what the density and development patterns existed. We used a 1,500-foot notification radius as a objective means to which to analyze this topic. So what we found is that the project site comes in at about 4.3 units per acre. There's an RS zone district with the yellow and it has black polka dots. That's developed at approximately 6 units an acre. There's the RAB that has areas of the radius site of the radius area, which is the RAB designation. That's developed at about 2.4 units an acre. And then the PRD project, immediately to the east of the project site, is developed at about 3.77 units per acre. So even though that the project is concentrated on a mesa, its overall density is in line with the development patterns in the surrounding area. Another argument or another findings that the Planning Commission made was that the project, the reserved units aren't proportional to the market rate units of the project. State density bonus law does not contain any proportionality requirements. Our local density bonus law and the city's inclusionary housing ordinance does contain some language with respect to proportionality, but it doesn't prescribe a minimum percentage. If you hit 50% of the average square footage, then you're found to be proportional. That's not the case. There is no minimum percentage prescribed. Staff has found, based on the design of the units, the bedroom count, the floor plans, that they are indeed proportional to the market rate units. As a comparison, the income restricted units will be 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. There are 9 3-bedroom units proposed for the project, 8 4-bedroom units, and 11 5-bedroom units. So there's a range of different sized homes within the project site. Another question came up was about the buildable area, and this is a little bit confusing. So the red areas are completely precluded from being considered developable. The orange areas represent a slope category of 20% or greater, and specifically the area in the northwest corner of the project site displays a unique topographic feature that it has a slope category of greater than 20%, and it has an elevation difference of more than 50 feet. So under our general plan policy 1.24, those would be considered natural topographic features that would be required to be preserved in a development. In addition, that area would require some geologic remediation, some earthwork in there, which would require off-site easements from the surrounding property owners, which the applicant does not have those property rights. So what the result is that the gross, we don't count net area, and when we do our density calculations, we count gross density. So it results in a compact development concentrated on those 3 generally level acres, but it's surrounded by approximately 4 acres of continued sloped open space. Another argument the Planning Commission made was that the project should have been required to apply for a conditional use permit. State law is very clear that projects which are subject of a density bonus application are not required to go through any discretionary permit. This permit review, a conditional use permit is clearly a discretionary permit review, therefore it is not required by state law. And finally, it's been asserted by some members of the public that the project isn't eligible for a density bonus. And so this gets a little confusing, but we're going to do our best to simplify all this information. The reference section outlines when a project has existing rental dwelling units, then they may not be eligible for a density bonus if 3 criteria are met. One is that if it's subject to a recorded covenant which restricts the income of the tenants, which in this case the project is not subject to a restricted covenant. If the project site is subject to a local rent control ordinance, the City of Oceanside does not have a local rent control ordinance, or if the project, the existing dwelling units are occupied by people of the low or very low income categories. If you don't know that information, then the assumption is that they are occupied by low and very low income categories. State law mandates that. And so when that's the case, you have to have reference a HUD database to show how many, what's the percentage of renters in the city of Oceanside that fall within that category. In this case, it's 42%. So there are 2 existing residences at the site with 6 bedrooms. So you can still qualify for a density bonus if you have replacement units of equivalent size. In this case, equivalent size, as state law is written, means that the replacement units have to have the minimum total number of bedrooms. And in this case, we do have the units which are being reserved do have the same minimal total number of bedrooms as the units that they're replacing. With that, staff is recommending that the council adopt a final MND for the project and that they adopt a resolution granting the appeal, overturning the Planning Commission's denial. That concludes my staff report. I'm available for any questions that you might have. I know the applicant is here and has a presentation also. Thanks.
Okay, at this time, we can have a testimony from the appellant.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and members of the community. My name is Tammy Temple. I'm the project manager for Grandview Community Homes. With me tonight are our project sponsors, John Korn and Matt Miller, our legal team, density bonus expert, architect, traffic consultant, environmental specialist, and civil engineer. We are all looking forward to answering your questions this evening. Before we get started, I would like to just walk you through a brief presentation that we've prepared for you tonight. This is the project site. The location transitions from industrial and commercial uses along Oceanside Boulevard to the residential neighborhoods on Fire Mountain. Grandview Point is similar in density to the Mountain View neighborhood to the west and St. Malo Heights to the east. So here's a close-up image of St. Malo Heights, which is immediately to the east of the project, and the Mountain View neighborhood, which is about 500 feet to the west. This shows the project site today, and with your approval tonight, the view of tomorrow. Key features of the project include a beautifully designed neighborhood, modern homes within walking distance to shopping and schools, and 100 parking spaces for residents and their guests. The project preserves natural open space, it beautifies a blighted parcel, and stabilizes surrounding slopes. Some of the community benefits are: it provides much-needed housing for Oceanside. It allows neighbors to tie into our gravity sewer system. It loops the city's water system from Grandview Street to Union Plaza Court. The project will underground existing power lines and other utilities. It allows for the elimination of a private sewer easement that impacts Colway neighbors. It alleviates encampment and trash problems in surrounding canyons, and it provides construction jobs. Grandview adds 26 market rate homes and 2 very low income homes to the Sandag housing requirements for Oceanside. We've conducted a fair amount of community outreach over the course of the last few years that include on-site community outreach meetings and individual meetings with Colway property owners in 2016. We've held individual meetings and in-depth discussions with Grandview residents in 2017. And then in 2018, we held a group neighborhood meeting with Colway owners, in-depth discussions and on-site meetings with Grandview Street residents, and we met with the Lincoln Middle School principal, Steve Bassant. This diagram shows the project presented to the Planning Commission in October of 2017. There were 26 single-family homes, 2 with ADUs. All of these homes were 3 stories. 11 of the 26 were adjacent to Cole Way, and these 11 homes adjacent to Cole Way had 5-foot backyards. We also included a parking lot with proposed 12 parking spaces. After receiving feedback from the planning commissioners and the community, the project sponsors brought in a new team to modify the project. So today, the updated project consists of 26 family homes, 2 with ADUs. All homes adjacent to Cole Way are now 2 stories instead of 3 stories. There are 15-foot backyards adjacent to the Cole Way homes versus 5 feet from the previous proposal. We've removed 1 home adjacent to Cole Way to create some view corridors for these residents. And then the 2 homes with ADUs are dispersed throughout the project. One of the homes we located in a prime spot on the project site. The parking lot was also eliminated, and we created parking pods throughout the project for residents, guests, and added a designated mailman parking space. So this is an architectural rendering. You can see an image of what the 3-story homes would look like, and then the 2-story homes that would be adjacent to Cole Way and the reduction in the massing. There was a lot of discussion around the number of units. Under your zoning code, it allows for 21 units, and we're proposing 28 under density bonus. There was also a lot of discussion around traffic, volume and speed. So the feedback, again, that we received was primarily about volume of speed, and the action that we took was we updated our traffic study and confirmed our previous findings that showed the project would not exacerbate current conditions. We also conducted a speed analysis, and the average speed on Grandview Street during this analysis was 28 miles an hour. And then we also took a look at the accident history report and noted that there were no reported collisions between 2013 and 2017. We also wanted to share some sustainability factors associated with construction and the finishing phase of the project. We would implement recycling and waste management measures, the use of recycled building materials, and certified wood for framing, making the home solar ready. We would install during the finishing phase smart home technology products, high efficiency lighting, and low water consumption mechanisms for plumbing and sprinklers. So this concludes our presentation. Our entire team is here tonight to answer your questions and hopefully gain your approval of this project. Thank you.
At this time, we'll move to the public comments. We have 27 speakers on this item, so we'll take 2 minutes each, Mayor Weiss. All right, so I'm going to call you 4 at a time, and if you could do me a favor, just line up at both podiums, that'd be great. And just a quick reminder, we do have a decorum policy in the City Council, so just trying to be as respectful as possible. That'd be great. So at this time, we'll move forward with our first 4 speakers: Arlene Hammerschmidt, Jay Houston, Sharon Houston, and I believe it's Steve Janis or Stade.
I'm sorry for the interruption. I'd like to reserve the remainder of our time for rebuttal.
Yeah, you have 12 minutes remaining.
Okay, thank you
Correct.
very
Yes,
much.
most definitely. Great. So those are the 4 speakers to start.
Good evening. Arlene Hammerschmidt, Ivy Road in Fire Mountain. I'd like to invite all of you to stand up and stretch your legs for just a second, because it's counterindicated to all of our health to sit down for this long. So if you would all please stand, please stand up. And all of you opposed to Grandview Point, please remain standing. If you live between Oceanside Boulevard and the 78, please remain standing. District 3 residents, please remain standing. Thank you. I just want to say a little bit about the validity of, do we get 2 minutes?
Yes, yeah.
Oi. All right, the validity of Citizen Fire Mountain Resident Research Team. They're professionals and residents. We are developers, environmental impact professional who, that's not right, filed her letter today with the clerk earlier this afternoon. We have attorneys, a traffic engineer, and e-tracket master researchers. Yeah, where's Turco? Because this is not right. There ought to be a law. Actually, there is a law. It's right in the Government Code 65915 and AB 2222, making this project not eligible. Existing residential units must be assumed to be low income, per Goldfarb and Lippman. They must be replaced by at least the same number of units of equivalent size. And equivalent size means replacement of units contain at least the same number of total bedrooms. I have turned my letter in to everybody. You've already read it. The bottom line is Mr. Statzer and his representative are short a bedroom, no matter how you classify a bedroom. Therefore, they're not eligible for the bonus density. If you would please just do one thing, either find the applicant not eligible, because there are 3 good reasons why, or table this decision for more in-depth study time to gain complete understanding and make a truly in-depth, informed decision. And I thank you for the little bit extra time. Thank you, everybody.
My name is Jay Houston, 2145 Chestnut Avenue, Carlsbad, California. I've met Mr. Mayor and Council. I thank you for hearing us. I've been a builder and a developer for over 40 years in San Diego County, and I developed the Macadamia Grove project that is next to this proposed project. I agree with the state and local and city agencies trying to get urbanization, but this project is the proverbial developer trying to put 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag. It's the wrong project on the wrong site. And I've never threatened a city council or a county agency that I would sue them if my project wasn't approved, as Mr. Korn did here the night of the Planning Commission meeting. State Law AB 2222 is a guide for projects. It has 3 separate areas where it says the applicant is ineligible for a density bonus if the site has the rental units, impacts the value of a historical site, or adversely impacts public safety. Any one of these 3 invalidates the project. The first 2 will be covered by others. Now on the most serious issue, public safety. The Planning Commission saw the problems on Grandview and so stated in their denial. Now the developer rebuts this with a 1-day traffic survey done on a day of the week when the elementary school lets out early, not reflecting a true evaluation of the traffic conditions on Grandview. They failed to review the 3rd school, a violation of cumulative impact, which the city traffic engineer only became aware of yesterday when I brought it to his attention. He had no idea there was going to be a high school over there. And this high school, when it comes online and at full development, will have 280 plus high school age kids driving. And the traffic engineer was concerned about injecting these kind of people into the traffic situation and the flow. There's no parking plan for them. It hasn't been addressed. Their traffic study and our
Please finish
development-
up your comments.
Pardon?
Please finish up your comments.
Why don't we get 3 minutes like the previous projects did?
Because we're going to be here, we have a very long agenda still after you, so if you please finish up your comments, thank you.
Okay, well, I would just say that their traffic study was nothing more than putting on lipstick on a pig. This thing should be denied and not be allowed because they don't qualify for a density bonus.
Sharon Houston. Hi, Honorable Mayor and Council. I want to speak about our historical site. Even though it is not listed on the state registry, the city saw the importance of saving the first macadamia grove in the state. It was established in the 40s, and it still has the original tree that it came from Hawaii that is on one of the owner's original property with a plaque on it. We were asked to save 23 of these trees, and it was a lot of money to us. So we did so at our expense because we had to recoup, we had to make higher costs on the homes we built. Now, one of the homes our daughter is now trying to sell, and the high-density project encroaching on her home is causing her not to be able to sell it, and her value has plummeted. What I want to say real fast is it is in violation of a state law that stated because of the macadamian historical, it says the development is ineligible for density bonus or any other incentives as it is adverse impact on any property that has historical value. And you yourselves, the city, said that it was of great importance and they chose to save this grove. So I want to say that my husband and I, we don't sue, but if you approve this, we will. It says, I request the city to follow the recommendation of the Planning Commission and not be bullied. Please vote hands down on Grandview Point. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi. My name's Stephanie Eckwall, and I'm a realtor salesperson with Realty Source, as well as a resident of the Fire Mountain neighborhood on Ivy Road. I would urge you to deny this proposed project and consider the lasting effects of home sales and prices for this unique area. I am representing Mr. and Mrs. Lampro in the sale of their home located at 328 Cole Way in Oceanside. The proposed development is directly in back of their property. As a realtor of 15 years in North San Diego County, it is my professional opinion the proposed development plan and density bonus is directly affecting the sale of their home. In the last 26 days, I have held 4 open houses with approximately 40 families coming through to view it. A large majority of those families inquired about the property and back, many directly asking about the Grandview Point development and giving negative feedback, with the primary concern being there would be way too many homes built, ruining the feel and uniqueness of the Fire Mountain community. We have already had to lower the price of the home by $100,000. Yes, and we are still not in negotiations with any buyers. I assure you this beautiful home shows exceptionally well and is priced right. If this proposed project is already affecting the sale and price of the surrounding homes, imagine how it will negatively affect the rest of the Fire Mountain home sales if this project was to be built. Once again, I would urge you to deny this proposed project and consider the lasting effects of home sales and prices of this very unique area. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi. My name's Stephanie Eckwall, and I'm a realtor salesperson with Realty Source, as well as a resident of the Fire Mountain neighborhood on Ivy Road. A large majority of those families inquired about the property and back, many directly asking about the Grandview Point development and giving negative feedback, with the primary concern being there would be way too many homes built, ruining the feel and uniqueness of the Fire Mountain community. We have already had to lower the price of the home by $100,000.
Our next four speakers are Angie Matthews, Shannon Lampro, thank you, so sorry, Maggie Matthews, and Emily Ortiz-Wickman. And feel free to line up at both podiums if you'd like.
Hello, I'm Anj Matthews in the Seaside District. I'm actually going to read a letter by Mike Ramsey. He couldn't be here tonight because his wife is ill, so he's with her, taking care of her. His concerns are really around the traffic study. He felt there were a lot of limitations. So I'll just read what he wrote. The project's TI section 2.1 study area criteria, which the intersections and segment were identified by staff. In my opinion, they left out the intersections at California Street and Hunsaker Street, and at California Street and Soto Street, and the freeway northbound on-ramp. That is the shortest route, not to mention the alternative cut-through streets, Kurt Street, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce this, Bel Air Street, off of westbound Grandview to the freeway with no traffic lights, 4 to 5 going westbound on Oceanside Boulevard. In my opinion, it does not make sense that these routes were not looked at because they will be impacted. Number 2, section 3.1 states the level of service is not applied to residential streets because the purpose is to serve abutting lots, not carry through traffic. The LOS should apply here because Grandview Street to Honeysucker to California Street and west to the freeway or east towards Down Street and Avocado Street to go to the shopping centers would make the streets and Fire Mountain roads that carry traffic between major trip generates and attractors. Number 3, section 4.3 project distribution based on coordination with city staff, see figure 5.5, see fig 5, distribution maps. According to the map, only 25%, this is in my opinion very light, of top traffic from 26 homes will impact Hunsaker, and the others to the west, again, where did that assumption that 75% of the project traffic will want to sit in traffic and so on. Oceanside Boulevard, rather than take the shortest route to the freeway, and it does not even cover the cut-through traffic through the Fire Mountain neighborhood on the streets to the shopping centers off of Vista. He's got a 4th point and some other concerns, but I'll respect the time that we have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shannon Lampro. I live at 328 Colway. I knew I was going to do this. You're going to hear a lot of evidence while this project is the wrong project for this property, but I want you to hear a personal side. My husband and I have lived in Oceanside for 20 years. Come on, Shannon. And 10 years ago, we decided to build our dream home along with my dad to raise our 2 sons in Fire Mountain because I love the park-like feel. 10,000 square foot lots, I have privacy, I have room to breathe. Never in my wildest dreams would I imagine 28 homes, 6 of which are going to be against my fence, looking down at my family when we have barbecues and friends over. It's disgusting. It's actually unacceptable. It's, as you've heard, it's pushed us to put our house on the market because I don't want to be there for it, and I've told them that. What else is unacceptable is the safety hazard that you're going to put my family, the students at the schools, the drivers that drive Grandview. I just showed a video of a normal Thursday pickup at Lincoln. This is what I come home to when I'm driving home from Trader Joe's. This is an everyday occurrence. The kids do not always use the crosswalk. They go ahead and cross right where the entrance of the proposed project's driveway is going to be, and they cross there because there's no sidewalk to continue. My niece walks home from Lincoln Middle School to our house when her parents can't pick her up, and I have personally stood at my mailbox and watched her almost get hit. These kids put their earphones in and walk. People text when they drive. This is unacceptable, unsafe, and I don't want it in my backyard.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, can we make sure that that's part of the record, that video?
Yes, if you could email me that video, I'll give you my business card.
Yes,
yeah.
it came in
That's totally fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Council and Mayor Weiss, Maggie Matthews from Seaside District. I strongly oppose the Grandview development. This plan is intending to comply with the federal, state, city mandate to build affordable housing with easy access to public transportation, i.e. the Sprinter. And this development falls flat on its face because it doesn't provide easy walkable access. The proposed development is only a half mile from the Sprinter station, but it is a staggeringly steep street to walk down, or worse, to have to walk up, especially if you're carrying anything. I know there are a lot of other reasons why this development is wrong for this parcel of land, including traffic considerations, the questionable safety of the sidewalk path, its failure to replace the correct number of low-income housing bedrooms lost to demolition, the unnecessary destruction of historically significant property, public safety concerns, and the incomplete traffic study. But this development is particularly wrong for the parcel of land it will be situated on because it assumes that renters will have easy walkable access to and from the Sprinter. It's simply not true, and it begs the credibility of the developer if tenants are expected to walk the route to and from the Sprinter. I'm sure that you're all familiar with the route between the Sprinter and the development site. Councilman Fellow, this is your district. Would you or any of your fellow councilmen and women be willing and able to hoof it to and from the Sprinter on a regular basis? Could you credibly pledge to your constituents that trudging to and from the Sprinter, given the steep grade and lack of sidewalk safety, constitutes a well-thought-out plan that delivers on the goal of providing easy access to public transportation? I think not. I strongly oppose the Grandview development. It's the wrong site.
And Ms. Matthews, I want to thank you for your donation to our Parks and Rec Department.
My name is Emily Ortiz-Wichman. I'm a 36-year resident of Fire Mountain and a trustee for Oceanside Unified School District for 24 years. And I live on Grandview, and for some odd reason, I've never been contacted by the developer. This proposal is not in the best interest of the Fire Mountain neighborhood or the surrounding schools. The areas of Grandview, Ridgeway, and Crouch Street are without sidewalks and pose safety problems for residents of the neighborhood and students who walk to and from Palmquest Elementary and Lincoln Middle School. Adding to traffic congestion, the student population from Palmquest Elementary School and Lincoln Middle School is 1,593 students, kindergarten through 8th grade. A 9th grade will be added to the Lincoln campus as a California Street Academy of Science and Engineering, opening up this fall for 30 students and expansion to 60 students the following fall. The congestion in the morning and afternoon include 55 staff members from Palmquest and 87 staff from Lincoln Middle School. The school district's transportation department sends 3 buses for special ed students and 1 bus from Crown Heights area morning and afternoon to Lincoln Middle School. Traffic congestion with 1,593 students and 142 school staff is initially from the students, parents, and guardians who drop their children off in the morning at the Grandview Street field entrance to Lincoln Middle School, and in the afternoon, cars are lined, and you saw something, cars are lined up on Grandview from Ridgeway to Hunsaker along both sides of the street, bumper to bumper. Also, 4 o'clock, when soccer, football, and lacrosse practice are being held, parking on Grandview is bumper to bumper as well on Saturdays. Changes to make the Fire Mountain neighborhood denser changes the integrity and general plan. I urge you to vote no on this project. Thank you.
Our next 4 speakers are Shannon Bryant, Vivian Citron, Mary Ellen Reese, and Tyler Lampro.
In that order?
Oh, you can come up in any way. Yeah, feel free to start. Thank you so
much. Council, Mayor, I'm Mary Ellen Reese, and I live in District 3 in St. Malo Village. A little bit about the procedure with the planning department. They make their recommendations and approvals based on the blueprints. So the fire department person approved this based on the one road in and out, which is 31 feet wide, and I couldn't read the radius of the turnaround at the end, but it looks like it's probably legal at 50. There's only one way in and out of this. I'm worried about the people that will be living there. These lots are 3,000 to 5,000 square feet, I believe. I live in a development very much like St. Malo Heights. Our lot sizes are 4,000. We're zero lot lines, so every part that the building is not on is actually available to us as yard, which isn't much. Looking at this, they should have done that. How far apart are these 2- and 3-story buildings? 5 feet, maybe? They're surrounded by brush and forest, lots of trees, which they have agreed to replace any that they take out. And I don't see how this prevents encampment. The encampment's there, and it's going to stay there. Hopefully none of those people build fires. Honestly, I don't know how many cars could get past fire engines on that one road in and out if there's a fire. So anyhow, I'm worried about the people living there. Friends don't like friends moving into fire trap areas, so please turn this project down.
Hi, my name is Shannon Bryant. I live at 325 Cole Way, so I'm in the cul-de-sac. I wish the picture was put up. I can see here on the screen. It's an inaccurate depiction that the developer, property owner, the representative is putting forward. There are not going to be any street improvements to Grandview at the entrance of this property. I wish that the property would allow them to move it. That's a 40-year-old plus segment of street that is not on the capital improvements program to have any additional sidewalks put down connecting to the other sidewalks. This property does not actually connect to where the sidewalk currently ends on the same side of the street. I walk it. I can tell you as a disabled veteran that you need to look at other times a day in a traffic analysis, because I have to jump out of the way numerous times to avoid being hit by cars, particularly at night. And they most certainly go above 30 miles per hour. I really wish that they would go slower, but it's like a racetrack. That's a constricted area of roadway. And so if you were to approve it, you are definitely documenting that there's a safety hazard. And because the site was not determined in the housing and very thorough housing analysis that was previously completed for this project, I had the joy of reviewing. I put this up here so that you could all see how much paperwork you actually have to take a look at. This project was thoroughly vetted through other consultants, significantly more than it was for this development by the city planning staff. And they determined that this was not an appropriate site for high density. And one of the key things had to deal with the slope that was on it, as well as the stretch of road. So I urge you to disapprove it for the safety, as well as the fact that the 1940s homes, there are 3 listed. You can readily see that. Looking it up online or anywhere. It's not a detached garage. I'd like to correct that. It's actually listed as a guest house. It's built in 1941 and is noted as the original grower's home, along with the original macadamia grove that was there. So as a result, I do respectfully request that you disapprove this project. Yes, I am the one. I do environmental analysis for a living. I would love this property to be developed, bottom line. I have nothing against low-income housing. But you do need the right project for the right reasons, and you do have to pay attention to the disqualifications. There is no gain
Please conclude your
in
comments.
affordable housing. Yes, sir. There's no gain in affordable housing here. They're replacing or displacing 3 low-income rentals for 2. And now we will grant them a density bonus. That would be incorrect, inaccurate, and most certainly suable. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Vivian Citron. I'm I live on Grandview, have been for about 38 years. One thing that I haven't seen addressed, the north side of Fire Mountain is very unstable. There's been 2 slides on Mountain View, just above what was the old long drugstore. On Dunstan, on the face of the north wall, there was a slide. 2 houses went down. The city of Oceanside had to pay for them. That was in the 1970s. I don't know if you remember that. I would say that if anybody builds in that canyon and digs into the walls, that could come down. It could affect San Malo and Cole Street. The face of that cliff is not stable. I would suggest that if you put in this project, you put in a $10 million bond to take care of anything that happens on the property. Thank you.
Council members, my name is Tyler Lamproy. I live on Cole Way. I was born and raised in Oceanside. I'm a 5th generation resident of Oceanside. I love Oceanside, but I do not love this project. I just wanted to reiterate the points on Grandview Way. We can see right kind of where the RV is. That's where on the left of the picture, that's where the entrance of the proposed site is. And we just see how it bottlenecks right to that point. And we remember from the video, we saw all the cars coming out. And it's just impossible to think adding another possible 100 cars coming and going out of the proposed site. We think about the potential that was talked about with children being hurt, because even though the traffic study didn't bring that up, we see it. We live there. We see kids running across. And we just don't want it to happen. We remember a couple years ago that young boy named Logan, he was killed on Coast Highway. And then the city changed the street because that happened. We don't want to have a child that then come in and fix this street. So unfortunately, this street cannot allow at this time a project to go through this. So I definitely want to ask the council members to continue with the Planning Commission to deny this. Thank you.
Our next 4 speakers are Christopher Slaughter, Heidi Slaughter, Weston Slaughter, and Trevor Slaughter.
It's my whole family.
There you go.
So my name is Christopher Slaughter. I live adjacent, used to be 5 feet, now 15 feet from this project. That was my RV in the picture. So here's a picture of the street. Here's the edge. This is what the kids have to walk on, or bike ride, skateboard, or walk your dog, and cars come by. I remember the first night we moved in. I've been living in San Diego my whole life, native. I've lived here for over 10 years in this house. And the first night we moved in, and I heard this screeching tires of cars driving by, and I started to go out at night, 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I'd see people, police officers even, using this as a thoroughway. It's not Oceanside Boulevard, but people drive, I believe, worse on this street than Oceanside Boulevard because it's 2 blind curves. It's an S turn. You can see, here's the opposite side, here's the south side of the street. There's inches of asphalt, and this is a crowned street. So if any kid or any person looks at their phone, you have a tendency to go to the edge of the street. Joggers, dog walkers, elementary school kids, now high school kids are gonna be going there. It's just gonna cause more traffic. The speed, I don't know, about 28 miles an hour. I probably don't drive 20 miles an hour on there, and I drive there, my own kids live there. If you're driving through this street, it's usually, I would estimate in the 40s, and that's if they're being nice. I only have 30 seconds left. I planned for 3 minutes, so to wrap up, there's been the threat of lawsuits by others, but You know, as a group, we have contacted attorneys. I'm not an attorney, I'm not a real estate attorney. I don't understand the law as well as you guys probably do. But if there is a death, if my kids get killed, or if anyone gets killed, there will be a lawsuit. We've already researched that. My own dog got hit right past that yellow sign, and my dog was on a leash because kids drive through there at freeway speeds, and it wasn't at night; it was in the day. So I'd like to conclude. I appreciate that you guys are taking the time to listen to all 27 of us. Only 27 showed up today. Last time there was more. I really do appreciate your time. I appreciate for everybody that did show up as well. Thank you for coming.
My name's Trevor, and me and my friends like to play baseball in the cul-de-sac. Sometimes the ball goes across the street and stuff, and sometimes like there's usually 2 or 3 cars that drive by pretty fast, and I just don't feel safe about it sometimes, and I'm usually out in the back because I can't really run, and yeah. Sorry.
You can put your microphone down if you want.
Oh, I'm done.
Oh, you're done? Okay, there you go. Thank you. Right on.
My name is Weston Slaughter, and so I guess cars drive by really fast, and a lot of time there's hold on. So parking, there isn't a lot of parking, and even with 100 parking spaces, if one of those families have a party, they're going to park on the streets or wherever they can. And so it's going to be hard to park. Please don't allow this, and I oppose. Thanks.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Heidi Slaughter. I live on 326 Colway. This is my family. My house is on the corner of Grandview, where the mailboxes are located. And I'd like to address the safety because of all the new traffic that this development could cause. Obviously, it's not a safe street. There's blind spots. Traffic speeds by very fast. People use Grandview as a shortcut to drive to Oceanside Boulevard, South Oceanside, and El Camino Real. It also has a lot of traffic because of the 2 schools. The drop-offs and pickups, parents usually tend to double park on the street. A lot of students walk from and to school, which is, they also cross the very busy street with blind spots. And coming soon, the middle school will add on high school, which will add more students and cars. We've lived here for 10 years, and parking has always been an issue. It gets crazy during school events, after school nights, sporting practices, games, and graduations. Last week during the graduation, the street was so full of cars, Lyfts and Ubers were using our cul-de-sac for pickup. It was very irritating and unsafe throughout the street. The cars were turning around on our property. Also, the Grandview has the middle school at the field, and people like to take their dogs there for dog walking daily, which adds more traffic. We have had our mailboxes hit by car. Our dog has been hit by a car. Obviously, the development is going to add more cars and parking and people walking with 100 more cars. And I worry about the safety of our neighborhood and the students and my family. Thank you.
Our next four speakers are Janet Bledsoe-Lacey, Joan Bachman, Kim Conley, and Linda Stanley.
Thank you. My name is Janet Bledsoe-Lacey, and I live at 2165 Grandview Street in Oceanside. And our family has been here since 1966, which was the year I graduated from high school. I have several things to try and say in this limited amount of time, but first I must take issue that I do not believe there are 100 parking spaces within this development. There is no on-street parking because, like everything else in this development, there's not enough space. And so there's no on-street parking. There are 28 units. There are 2 car garages for those units. So you do 2 times the 28, and you get 56, and then they have 13 parking spaces that they have dispersed throughout the project. So what you have are 69 spaces. I do not believe that it's 100, and you're going to have people who have very small garages that they've provided for, that many people use their garages for storage, and so you don't have it completely available for parking. And in saying that, those cars are going to be out on Grandview Street for our kids, and I had the same numbers that Emily had, and I'd like it to be known in the record that I am very proud to have served as an Oceanside Unified School District Board of Trustees person for 22 years, not having run again in 2014. And understand the safety. This is a safety issue for our students that's being presented with this site. And there is your basis, your legal basis for rejecting this project because of the lack of parking that is available. You cannot ask them to increase parking, is my understanding from the law, with density bonus issues, but you can deny the project because it fails to provide the parking. In addition to that, the City of Oceanside was very wise in our affordable housing ordinance to include a provision that required that there be proportional units to the development. In other words, the affordable units must be comparable in size and just comparable to the non-affordable units. These are half the size and less. It is not proportional. Thank you.
Before you start, I have been asked to take a short break, so we will take a break until 8 o'clock.